I think this was the first time in my whole life, in 32 years, that I've actually had a team to root for that I loved in the playoffs for the NFL. Of course, that's because when the Lions actually made the playoffs when I was younger, they really weren't, I was too young to remember, and they really haven't done anything in my recent memory. So here we are. Stafford is 2-0 this year. Fun fact for you, if he wins today, he will have a better playoff average than Aaron Rodgers. Boom. A lot less games, but hey, I'll take it. But on to more important things that revolve around Jesus and not sports. So here we have the second reading from the Corinthians, the letter to the Corinthians, and it's all about love. And I have to be honest with you, a lot of times when this comes up, especially the lectionary, we also hear it at weddings when a couple is getting married and they want love to be the foundation of their relationship. And we even hear it at funerals at times when people feel like the person that's gone really exemplified great love. And for that reason, when it comes up in the lectionary, I kind of just ignore it because we hear it so often. Not this weekend. I'm not ignoring it this time. It's going to all be about the second reading. What St. Paul begins with is very important for us to take note of. He mentions all of these things. You could be a great speaker. You could even be a very generous person by giving to the poor. You could do all these things, but if you don't have love, it means nothing. It means nothing. I think that's a good reminder that things need to come out of love, and that's what's going to give it meaning. Think about it this way. Is it the mastery of a particular subject or the content that makes a teacher great? Is it? Maybe a coach. Is it their understanding of the X's and O's? Is it their understanding of the support that makes them a great coach? Parents. Is it just the fact that you provide a house, food, good school, education for your children that makes you a great parent? Priest. Is it just our understanding of the scriptures and celebration of the sacraments that make us good priests? Without love, none of these things work. It's love that's the common thread. It's a teacher's love and concern for her parents that's going to make her a great teacher. It's a coach's great love for his athletes that's going to make him a great coach. It's a priest's love for his parish, hopefully, that'll make him a good priest. And of course, parents, it's your love for your children that will be the foundational thing that makes you a good parent. Without love, we're nothing. So here we have these wonderful words, these wonderful ways of defining love from St. Paul. And, I think sometimes we hear it, sounds great, and then we don't know how to live it, And you've met Father Len a few times now, because Father Len Sudlick has graciously subbed for me when I've been away. And one of the things I really appreciated from Father Len is he would say this. He would say, put words around that. And when he would say that phrase, put words around that, it was his way of saying, give me more meaning, give me more understanding, fill in the details. The way that I do that, especially when I meet with people one-on-one, when people say something, I'll say more. Say more. So for example, if someone says, Father, today was a tough day, say more. Put words around that. And maybe it's tough because they got a speeding ticket and then they got hit a deer and then they went home and argued with their family, whatever. It just piled on the whole day. Tough day. Sounds like a tough day to me. What about if someone says to me, Father, prayer has been so good recently. Say more. Put words around that. Why has it been good? And maybe that person will say, I went to pray in the adoration on Thursdays here at our parish. I was sitting there praying the scriptures, and I really felt like I was doing Lectio Divina, I really felt like Christ was speaking to my heart. And through that particular scene of the gospel, that God was doing some really good things in my heart. Beautiful. Awesome. And so I think for us today, as we look at these wonderful ways of defining love, we need to put words around them. We need to say more. So for example, love is patient. Well, what does that look like? What are words we can put around that? Again, I think of teachers. These wonderful teachers that spend extra hours after the school day is over. And they stay longer with a particular student or students who are struggling. And they spend time with them. And maybe they spend a week or two or even a month on the same concept, just patiently trying to help the student understand these things. And at the very end of this time together, they finally get it, and the teacher is just as excited as the student is, because they patiently were with them, and now they see the light bulb go off and the understanding. Love is patient. Love is kind. What are words we can put around that? Well, we just had our holiday season, and if you're a coffee addict like me, you find yourself at Starbucks, hoping to refuel for the rest of the day, and there you are. And what happens so often at Starbucks or other coffee shops as well? Car in front pays for the car behind. One of my favorite things is when that has happened to me, I ask the barista, how many are we at? 17 cars. Well, let's keep it going. We're not going to end it now, right? Love is kind. One of the greatest things about that is there's no benefit. I don't know who's in the car behind me. They don't know who I am. We just do it out of kindness. And hopefully it gets to the person that really needed it that day. Love is not jealous. Or love is grateful. Last week we talked about what are we bringing to the table? What are our gifts that we're bringing to the table? And, how boring would our world be if we all had the same gifts, right? But when we all bring our gifts together, our diversity of gifts together, we can flourish. We can do well. We can do amazing things. And so we don't need to be jealous at the gifts of other people because we cover one another's weaknesses. Right? Be grateful. We're grateful for the gifts in the other person. Love is not pompous or inflated. And I think of Barry Sanders, to be honest. Barry Sanders was just this, I'm here to do my job. Great running back, scored a touchdown, and what would he do? Just hand the ball to the ref. It wasn't about him. It was about the team. You can think of many other examples of humility, Mother Teresa and others to name a few, but, love isn't about the self. It's not about attention. Love is humble. Love is not rude. I'll use a silly example because, kids, especially young ones, say the darndest things, especially to priests, to be honest. And I'll never forget this little kid and came up to me and he's with his parents and he says, "Father, why are you bald?" And I could just see the parents blush, like, "Father, we're so sorry." I'm like, no, it's fine. But why were they embarrassed? Because we're meant to be polite to one another, right? Love isn't rude, it's polite. It's respectful of the dignity in the other person. Love is not quick-tempered. Love is not quick-tempered. And I think, again, families, maybe parents, you come home after a long day of work, and maybe one spouse says to another, "Can you help me with something?" And there's that temptation to be snarky, like, just let me be home for a moment. But love that's not quick-tempered says, "Hey, yeah, I'll help you with that. Just give me a brief moment, please." There's always a way in tone and inflection of our voice that we can communicate our care and concern. Love does not brood over injury. What are words we can put around that? I think this is one of the biggest ones for all of us. I include me in this. This is one of the most dangerous things in the Christian life, is when we are hurt and then we allow it to grow and have space in our hearts. And we let it fester and become something even bigger than what it should have ever been, right? But love doesn't let anger and unforgiveness grow. Love always seeks healing, reconciliation, and a new beginning. That's what love does. And this last one, love never fails. Well, that one's easy. That's that. That could have been the sign of defeat, but that became the sign of victory, right? And so St. Paul has all these wonderful things to say about love, but there's so many words and ways and actions we can put around them. There is this wonderful old wise man who said this. Do not pity the dead. Pity the living. And above all those who live without love. Anyone know who said that? We're 0 for 3. Dumbledore. Dumbledore from Harry Potter. I know that you were all on the edge of your seats waiting to shout, it's Albus Dumbledore. Albus Dumbledore said that. Do not pity the dead, pity the living. And above all those who live without love. Why don't we pity the dead? Because they're with God. They're with that loving, they're experiencing that loving communion and friendship with our Savior, with our God in heaven. Why pity the living? Because we show compassion on one another when we're suffering, when things aren't easy. But I think the most important thing that he says is pity those who live without love. Because love gives meaning. It's life-giving. And here's the thing, and this is why I bring it up. Our job in the Christian life is to make sure that everybody, each of us encounters, is a person that lives with love. Our job is to make sure that there's no one we meet that lives without love. There's that really sad moment in the gospel where the people reject Jesus. They push him out of the town. They rejected love itself. Our job is to embrace love and allow it to come into our lives and fill us and give us that great joy that comes from people who know they are loved. And here's the reality. Our job then is to do what St. Paul says, to put words around love. Or another way to put it, to put actions around it. That our lives should communicate love to one another. Our first reading, before I formed in the womb, I knew you. In other words, you've always been loved. Jesus says to us every day, you are loved. And St. Paul in our second reading, you always will be. Our purpose in life then is to receive this love and to let it come in and come out. We love because Christ loved us first.